Hi, Sally here, and today I am going to be working on a project with my new Gelli Plate. I have played around a little bit with this, but for one little word back in July, the challenge was to use a Gelli Plate to make some little prints, and I was very nervous. You know, I remember when I first saw a Gelli Plate being used, and I thought, oh, that's so cool, I want one, but then I never got one. And so with this challenge, I was like, I am gonna get one. So then I got a giant box of paints, all different colors, and then I got one that has metallics and pearls, and so I have some materials that I'm going to use to make patterns. I have this cool material that they used to wrap a gift in at Animal Kingdom at Disney World, and I have some bubble wrap and this mesh from a bag of potatoes, I think it was, and then a different mesh from a bag of oranges, and I have, whoop, oh, that's sticky, tissue paper. And then I cut out some stencils on my Cricut, and the little frames I thought would look kind of cool to make a pattern. So I made some stars, some hearts, and just some ovals. And I have this cool swirly stencil to try. And then there were these things at work that had fallen off the boxes and dividers and things that they use there. And I thought those could make some cool shapes and some little half circles. And I have this sponge, an old curler sponge, and I have an old tape roll to make some circles, and a popsicle stick, and then this is a silicone makeup sponge to draw, like, I don't know, to make some shapes. So I have all these things, and then I got a 4-inch Speedball soft brayer to spread things out, and then I have a traveler's notebook to wipe off the extra paint, and some other papers I have to wipe off extra paint. And so yeah, let's get going. Okay, so I am just picking my first colors, which are red, pink, and coral. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of each color down on the plate. And then use my brayer to spread it out. It was kind of hard to get good coverage, but then not totally mix all the colors together. So I don't know, I might have done that differently, but now I'm deciding what to do. I'm crumpling up some tissue paper and just dabbing it all over. And then I'm putting my paper down, which is 80-pound, I think, cardstock. I'm just rubbing it all over to get that print up, and then pull it up. And there it is. I love how the tissue paper kind of looks like roses. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of gold metallic paint and use my star stencil. And I just did that on half of it, so I could try something different on the other half. Just rubbing all over. You have to push a little bit harder on a stencil, and there we go, some gold stars. That gel plate's very sticky. So I'm just going to try to use my scrap paper to get some of that paint up off the plate. Got some of it up. And now I want to try the other side of my print. And I choose the white pearl, I think. I'm just putting that on the other side, spreading it out. using the heart stencil. That one is very subtle, but it adds a really nice shimmer. Definitely like that metallic paint. Trying to get that off a little more carefully so it doesn't rip. And so I'm done with that first print and trying to decide what colors for the next print. And I go with a different selection of purples. I think this one's grape and lavender, if I remember right, and I don't remember the other color of, oh, I went with white, I think, to kind of tone those purples down a bit. So I just am dabbing my little sea sponge all over, and it didn't really remove paint, but it did add a little bit of texture in there. Really didn't do that much. I'm just making this next print. Oh, I'm just explaining that normally the Gelli Plate would not be that slick, but I left the back on so that things wouldn't stick to it. So you don't really see that texture of that sponge very well on there. So I'm gonna go with red, which I definitely regret now. I don't really like the way that it looked with the purple that much, but what can you do? It was done, so I'm gonna spread that out. I just did it on half. And then I use these cardboard pieces, which I also regret because they were really thick, and so it made a really big design. I think if I did it again, I would do something else over the top of it to kind of soften that design. I don't know. I wasn't really happy with how that one turned out, but you live and you learn, right? So just trying to get some of that extra paint off. And this side, I'm going with this pretty blue. I think it was ice blue, I don't remember. And I definitely like the blue with the purple better than the red with the purple. And just making some circles with my tape roll. And definitely like that side better. But overall, not my favorite print. Okay, so I just sprayed it with some water and I'm trying to wipe it up, but it is not coming up. So I saw in one of my many tutorials I watched that if you put a thin layer of paint over dried paint, then it will pick up what's underneath. So we're gonna give that a try with just some scratch paper that I had from Misprint. And that did get up quite a bit of the paint. So now I'm going to try a different color scheme. I'm going with a pretty selection of blues. I think there was dark blue or dark navy, turquoise, and ocean, I think, were the colors. I don't remember for sure. These are all paints that I got from Michaels. They're the Craft Smart brand. So they just had a big collection in a box that I ordered online and made it less than $1 each for the bottles of paint. So I really like that. I decided to go with no pattern or design, just straight paint for the first pull on the print. And I really like that one. I love those colors together. So I'm going to try to get some of that extra paint up. Got some of it. And now that's the metallic blue there. And going with this fun stencil. And it was harder to do because the holes were pretty small, so I had to push kind of hard. And then the paper was kind of moving all over, but you can't really tell in the end. I think it looks fine. But it was very subtle. Again, probably because those holes were real little. So I put my scrap paper in between the plate and the stencil to kind of clean up both sides at once. And it mostly worked. Got almost all the paint off the stencil. And then I just washed that in the sink. And I think that made a pretty cool design on that too. And I can't remember, but I think this is the end of my printmaking. So that's how they turned out. And just gonna let them dry. They do dry really fast. So now I am going to try some stamping with some Distress Oxide colors. And again, not real happy with how those turned out, but they did add a bit to it, so it was just very subtle because I pretty much chose the same colors of stamp ink that I did for the paint. So you can't really see it, but it works. So now going with the purple on the purple print. And that one definitely shows up a lot better on that light blue. Again, this one was definitely not my favorite one that I did, but that's okay. And now Salty Ocean. I'm going to try a different stamp for this one. Put that on a block. And that one really doesn't show up. I guess if I wanted it to show up better, I should have probably chosen a darker color, but I got black out, but I didn't really want to do black because I thought that would be too much of a contrast and I didn't want that, but probably could have used a darker blue at least, but that's okay. All right, that is that. So now I cut them into 3x4 cards, and then I had some sayings that I had for a while, and I chose 4 of them, practiced, writing them out before I wrote them in pen, and then I drew it with pencil, marked the lines, and figured out the placement of what I wanted to say. And then I used a fine line Sharpie and a Fudenosuke brush marker to write the sayings. So this is just the last one that I'm doing here. Zoom you in and just write these out. I was a little out of practice of doing my brush calligraphy. I hadn't done it in a while, but I think it turned out pretty good. I love that Fudenosuke. I think that's how you say it. That pen, the brush pen. It made a world of difference because I tried larger brush markers and it was hard, really hard to control. But this one is much, much easier. So I highly recommend. So there's that. When it dried, I just used a pink eraser to erase the marks, which worked pretty good on the paint. It didn't take up the paint at all. So then I just was figuring out where I wanted them in my pocket protector. I had these wooden letter or months that I'd gotten, and so I just was going to glue that on there, and some little embellishments on the extra cards because I didn't want to do 4 or a saying on every card. I just did 4 of them. I got it in the pocket, so I was just going to put it in my book, but I'm not sure I ever showed what I did in June. It was mostly just some journaling. I did decorate the divider with the papers from the I Am and Good Vibes collection and used the digital kit to print that on vellum. And then I wrote this quote by President Gordon B. Hinckley, lots of things about believe. So I thought it was perfect for my book. And then just put this, and I used a tonic shimmer pen for that. So I've just stamped July on there. I'm not sure. I need to decorate that divider still, but here are my little cards. So these are just some quotes I needed right now because I'm just feeling a little, having a hard time today, but these will help me to feel like I can carry on and keep going and have a better day tomorrow. So I'll just decorate this divider and maybe show what I did once I get caught up with the rest of the months. I still have August, September, and I don't even know what the challenge is for October. I haven't even looked. So I'm a little behind. But anyway, I got this done. I had so much fun using the Gelli Plate. I thought it was a great little fun tool and so easy and so quick to make some pretty cool pieces of art. I mean, it looks like art to me, but, and I love that shimmer. Love the shimmer. There must be mica powder in those metallic paints, but anyway, that does it. So thank you so much for watching.